Dear learner, my name is Dr. Mohammad Nazim, faculty in the Department of Library and Information Science, Aligarh Muslim University. We are discussing the concept of documentations, and in some of the previous lectures, we have discussed about the concept of documentation work and documentation services. And in the previous lecture, we have discussed the concept of current awareness service. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss one more important documentation service, that is selective dissemination of information. So by the end of this lecture, it is expected that the learners will be able to understand the concept of selective dissemination of information, and they will be able to distinguish SDI from general current awareness service. They will be able to analyze the functional phases of SDI for creating SDI services in an institutional library or even in the documentation center. They will be able to apply the criteria which is required to create an effective user profile as well as document profile to ensure high precision information delivery in an institutions. And they will be expected to evaluate the advantages and limitation of manual versus computer-based or computer-assisted selective dissemination of information system in the modern library environment. So let us begin with this introduction, and we will try to understand how the concept of selective dissemination of information services was emerged. And if we try to see the origin of SDI, the credit for the origin of SDI goes to H.P. Loon, who in 1958 introduced the concept of selective dissemination of information services while using the computer to support researchers in providing and delivering the relevant and pinpointed information services or information to users. It is clear that the concept of SDI emerged when the computer was started using in different kinds of offices and institutions. So obviously this is a technology-based service and helps manage information explosion efficiently, because the computer has the power of storing huge volume of information, and it is also important that a specific piece of information can easily be retrieved from the computer. So obviously when we started providing services using computer-based technology, then it is very easy to control the explosion of information. Another important aspect of this service is that the personalized approach. Obviously this service, the purpose of this service is not to offer to the general users. The service is designed for individual users and for the specialist. So it is obviously a specialized case, that is a specialized current awareness service, of which the focus on specific user interest rather than general awareness of the users. The service is precision and relevance that provide quick and accurate and need-based information to the users, and it is basically the selective process that we need to screen and delivers only relevant information and document to the users. So concept of selective dissemination and information service for the first time introduced by the H.P. Loon, and he suggested the use of computer for delivering these kinds of services. So it is important to just understand the concept of selective dissemination of information by describing and discussing the different definition of SDI. So the definition of SDI is important because he is the originator of the concept of the SDI. So SDI is defined by the H.P. Loon as a service within an organization which concern itself with the channeling of new item of information from whatever sources to those clients within the organization where the probability of usefulness in connection with current work or interest is high. According to Ranganathan, SDI is a documentation list. We have already discussed in the previous lectures that the process of delivering documentation services is the preparation of documentation list. So SDI is a documentation list on a specific topic anticipated to engage the attention of the member of the parent body. So when we talk about the documentation list, it means documentation list maybe a bibliography, maybe a indexing service, or maybe a abstracting service. So documentation list may be prepared for different purposes. So according to Ranganathan, SDI is a documentation list on a specific topic which is basically provided to the member of the parent body. Another definition by Fidotin who states SDI as a method of providing personal current awareness information to individual or group of people. Another definition, we can see the UNESCO defines selective dissemination of information as the regular provision of scientific information to individuals or corporate users on predetermined subject, that is the interest profile. So on the basis of the definition given by different authority, it can be said that selective dissemination of information, as the name indicates, it is a selective services. It is not meant for every journal user. So this is selective services. The purpose is to provide pinpointed information to the users who are the specialist users. And this service is delivered on demand by the users. So what are the objectives of providing SDI in an institution, in a library, or in any kind of documentation center? So the main purpose of SDI is to deliver the right information to the right user at the right time in a precise and efficient manner. And there are certain specific objectives of the SDI, for example, personalized information delivery. So this service is meant for providing relevant information which is tailored to the individual user needs. So this is highly personal service. Another important objective is to ensure user receive latest information as soon as it is available. So that is very timely information access provision, where information may be intimated timely. As soon as new development happened in a particular area, this need to be intimated to the users. Then precision in information retrieval is also one of the objective of SDI, where it is important to deliver highly relevant and accurate information by filtering unnecessary content. So as we have already mentioned, that right user at right time and the right information. So everything cannot be intimated to the users. Only relevant information need to be identified, and then the same may be delivered to the users. So precision is very important because there is information overload, and from the huge volume of information, the relevant information need to be identified, and that may be given to the users. So precision in information retrieval. The purpose is to provide precise and relevant information to the users. And ultimately, we have seen that the major objective is to provide right information to the right user at the right time. So ultimately, the saving the times of the user is an important aspect. So HDI, one of the objectives of the selective dissemination of information service is the saving of time of the user. So we can reduce time spent in searching by providing ready-to-use information to the users. Ultimately, the purpose of SDI is to support research activities. And research activities can be supported by providing relevant information from compiling the documentation list and then delivering to the users. So it helps researchers stay updated and enhance quality of research work. Not only this, the duplication of research can also be avoided. And it also supports the reducing the information overload by providing only selected and useful information to the users, and user may feel free and not overburdened. So this is also one of the objectives of the selective dissemination of information. So when we talk about the characteristics and the features of selective dissemination of information, so we can see, and we have already seen, that it is a computer assisted or computer based service, and it can be offered by using a computer. Another important feature is the personalized service that we have already discussed in detail. It is a user-oriented approach which is designed with a clear understanding of user's specific information need. It is a form of current awareness service. That means need to alert users about recent development in a specific area of researchers. The focus is on current information. Deals mainly with the recent and current published information, because as soon as new information is added to the system, it may be intimated to the users. And the information which is compiled and delivered to the users can be collected from the diverse source of information. So that is also important. When we compile information for delivery to the users, then a multiple format and multiple form of documents are consulted. It is a tailor-made service that is not for all kinds of users. Tailor-made service means it is customized according to the needs of the user. The speed is very fast. It is fast and prompt service, and it is selective dissemination that the name of this service indicate. It is provided to the selective users, and it is relevant based selection. Only highly relevant and current information is selected for the dissemination of information to the users. So what are the advantages of providing a selective dissemination of information services? So ultimately there are many advantages, like higher education, higher user satisfaction, because the user will be satisfied if they will be availed the personalized nature of service, and they will be able to get the relevant information from the users related to the field of interest. That is also important when we will define the workflow of SDI. Then we will see that how it is highly personalized service, because we need to collect the interest of the user in terms of their subject area or keyword. It is faster information dissemination. So this is the advantage. As soon as new documents are added to the system, it is possible that we immediately match the document with the user need, and we can easily hand over to the intimated to the users, because it is a computerized system, and with the support of modern technology, it is very easy to just provide faster information dissemination to the user. It is automatic alert service, just like other kinds of development in different areas. We are just getting alert from different sectors, even from bank. So also it is possible to send the alerts to the users in the library also. So the user need not remain alert themselves to keep track of new literature coming in their field, as they are automatically alerted by the SDI system. So another advantage is tailor-made service, provide customized information services to individual users. We have already discussed this point. And better utilization of documents. The document coming to the library are best utilized as they go to those persons to whom they will be most useful. That is basically fulfilling the 5 laws of library science, and the first 3 laws. Books are for use, every reader his or her book, and every book its reader. So the better utilization of resources is possible when we try to provide SDI services to the users. And reduce scanning time, because it minimizes or eliminates the needs for users to scan large volume of literature. And this work is done by the librarian and professional librarians, so that they can scan and provide the information to them. Instead of users do this task, librarians and the documentation officers do this work on behalf of the users. So no search strategy is required, because they need not to search any database, any journals. This is the process of automatic matching of user profile and document profile, and then the matched result will be intimated to the users. So this is user receive relevant information without needing to formulate a search query. So there are some certain disadvantages of the SDI service because it is difficulty in identifying users' needs. That is one of the important area of concern, because when we create a user profile, then identifying the relevant area of interest is important. So it is sometimes difficult to pinpointedly ascertain the interest and requirement of the users, as they are often unable to express themselves in a manner required. So this is one of the difficult tasks. Just defining information needs is very critical area basically of information retrieval system. Something which is required is difficult to explain by the user. So sometimes there may be a chance of mistake in exactly identifying the subject interest of the user. And if it is not exactly identified, then obviously the result which will be intimated in future may be wrong. So this is the disadvantage of SDI. Limited scalability and loss of personal touch. So it is difficult to satisfy a large number of users by manual system, and if mechanical method is adopted, it may lose the personal touch, which is a vital aspect. So because it is done by the computer assisted system, so personal touch is basically less in this kinds of services. Poor user response. Sometimes many users are not alert enough to respond to all notifications, and which affects the feedback mechanism. If we are not able to find the response of the users in terms of their feedback, it is difficult for us to improve the system. So in some cases, this may be the possibility that there will be a poor user response. And ultimately, one of the major challenge of providing or initiating SDI service is the requirement of skilled staff. And if skilled staff is not there, the service cannot be provided. Because there are two important things that is needed in the whole process of designing selective dissemination of information services. The one aspect is the document profile, where every document is assigned the descriptor, subject descriptor or keywords. And if it is not properly assigned, then obviously there will be a problem in the matching of the user profile with the document profile. So ultimately, if there is poorly trained staff, then it is difficult to handle or difficult to provide the selective dissemination of information services. A poorly trained staff in sufficient number are required for providing SDI service, which are usually not available in many of the libraries, particularly in India. So now come to the functional phases of selective dissemination of information. So these are the functional phases, that is selection, notification, feedback, modification. So selection means the subject and other characteristic of new documents are matched with the interest of users expressed in terms of subject and other characteristic in user profile. That is the selection. So selection means that is the matching with the document profile and the user profile, and then selecting the documents which are matched. Then notification means the document which are matched with the interest of the user and the document profile, then they will be notified. So the items selected for dissemination have to be notified or listed and sent to the user. The notification usually takes the form of list of references with or without abstract. And if the full document is required, then a user can send the request and full document can be delivered to the users. Then the third thing is the feedback. That is very important, because sometimes if the information is provided to the users, the results which are matched and notified to the users, they may be relevant or may not be relevant. And only it is possible to the librarian may be able to know when a feedback is received from the users. So the user is expected to provide feedback to the SDI personnel in the feedback form sent along with the SDI on the relevance of each of the items listed in the SDI service. So if user is satisfied, well and good. If user is not satisfied, there is a chance of improvement of the system. So what kinds of improvement can be made? The user profile which is created may be revisited and we need to revisit the area of interest of the user and then describe that area of interest in the user profile. And this modification can be incorporated in the system. So based on the feedback, the revision or modification of the user's profile or search expression for the users can be done. So this is the workflow of SDI, and we can see in any library system, in any kind of information system or documentation center, we receive the documents, and the document can be received through different methods, maybe through purchase, through gift, through whatever, through subscription. Then the input of document is done, and at the time of input of the document, what we need to do? We need to do the analysis of the subject analysis and representation. Subject analysis and representation means that we need to understand the subject of the document on the basis of the content which is provided in the document. And this subject can be represented, the subject can be represented in a language that is called the indexing language. And there are certain tools which can be used for controlling the natural language. And these tools are called vocabulary control tools. So we have an established system of indexing, maybe keyword indexing, maybe assign indexing. So system of indexing can be used to assign a specific keyword or subject to the document. And we can also attach create the abstracting services. So overall, what we can do, we can assign the subject and we can put into the database. This is a kind of modern SDI workflow. Otherwise, in the traditional system, what we do, we try to create a user, try to create a document profile where we provide the bibliographic detail of the document along with the subject headings and keywords. Then on the other side, there is the user with their information need. And this information need can be expressed in the user query. In the user profile, along with the detail of the user, that is the name, that is the department, the area of interest is mentioned. And that also be included in the user database. So on the one side, we have the database of document. On the other side, we have the database of user. And after certain interval, a matching can be done between the document database and user database. And whatever the results are matched, they can be intimated to the users. And finally, we need to get the feedback. If the desired result, that's result which are sent to the user are satisfied, this is well and good. Otherwise, some kinds of modification in the user profile, particularly in the defining the area of interest, subject interest, is important. And on the basis of analysis of feedback, the document, if the user is satisfied, the full document can be delivered. If user is not satisfied, then we need to do the modification in a user profile. So this is the complete workflow of SDI, which is started from the document input to the subject analysis and representation and putting the document into database. On the other side, the same process is done. User information need can be identified and it can be expressed in the user query formulation, that is subject area, and then it may be put into the user database. So these steps and these components of the SDI can be discussed one by one. For example, creation of user profile. So the first and the important step in providing SDI service is the creation of a user profile. And the user profile include different elements. That is, the educational and professional background can be included in the user profile. Subject of user's interest in terms of keyword. That is one of the important area that need to be included in the user profile, because the matching is done on this particular basis. Few core journal titles of papers relevant to users' interest, name of author who are active in the field, institution active in the field. So these kinds of detail can be added to user profile when we create a user profile, when to those users to whom we want to provide the selective dissemination of information services. The second step is to create the document profile. As the document come to the library, their contents are clearly analyzed and the unit concept or facets are expressed in the same keyword, symbols or code numbers which have been used in user's profile, so that matching is possible. So this is basically the traditional aspects of creating document profile. But today, this is almost the automatic process where the document details can be extracted and put it into the inverted file of the database. So the individual profiles of documents so prepared are filed together, and this is called a documents profile file. This work is done by the SDI staff. Now, after creating both document profile and the user profile, the third important component of the SDI is the matching of profiles. So user and document profiles are matched at regular intervals to find relevant information, that is relevant documents which are matched with the user profile and the document profile. A match occurs when there is a close similarity between user interest and document content, and predefined matching criteria, that is keyword, combination, minimum concept are set for each user, and user instruction and feedback help refine and improve the matching accuracy. Now, after the matching of user profile with the document profile, the relevant results which are identified can be intimated to the users. And the intimation is sent to particular user with those profile, the profile of document matches closely. Thus, the user is alerted about the presence of a document in the library which may be of relevance to him. The notification may carry only the minimum detail, that is the bibliographic detail. But if the document is required, the complete document is required, the user can send the request to the librarians and the complete document may be provided to the users. So the last component is the feedback. That is very important. A feedback mechanism is to collect user's response on the usefulness of the information which is provided to the user. User may indicate whether bibliographic detail, abstract or full documents are required. Feedback can include referral, suggesting document useful for other users, and it also helps to improve system efficiency and update user profile. And finally, it enables detection of changes in user interest over time. So if there is the input, some response we received from the users, then the modification and readjustment is required. So we need to do the profile updating based on user feedback, and for the improvement of the service of SDI service, it is necessary to carefully analyze the views of users obtained by web methods and modify the user's profile if it is required. So this is a continuous process of readjustment, and such modification is called readjustment or updating. Continuous readjustment of the profile certainly help in raising the efficiency level of the SDI system. So what are the operations of SDI that is proposed by HP Loon? Because it is a computer assisted service, though it can also operate manually. It is suitable for a small user group and limited subject areas, providing satisfactory services. It can be expanded with computerized information system and services like ISI, chemical abstract and MEDLARS. But today, because we know that this is very easy to provide the selective dissemination of information services to the large group of users, because everything can be maintained by the computer, and we can maintain the document profile in the form of database. We can maintain the user profile in the form of user database. And even we can see the example of Google Scholar, where we have a profile, and in the profile we can just define a few keywords which are relevant to our area of interest. So obviously we will start getting the alerts from the Google Scholar that this article has been recently published. Okay, so we will get the intimation from the Google Scholar. So today this is very easy to develop such kinds of SDI services in the libraries by using the computers and databases technology. So large volume of documents are stored in machine readable format now it is possible not magnetic tapes, but now we have the more advanced level of technology to store large volume of documents in the SDI database. And by combining document profile with user profile, institution can easily establish SDI services because of the advancement in the technology. So just try to compare the current awareness service and SDI service. So we have already discussed in detail about the current awareness service. Current awareness service is an independent service, and whereas selective dissemination of information is a type of current awareness service. It has existed for a long time, that is for a long time, but SDI is developed recently, particularly in 1958 by H.P. Loon, when the computer was started using in the offices and in the libraries and in the information centers. Current awareness services provided to all users of the library. However, the SDI is a personalized service. It is limited to the researchers or individual users. Current awareness service organized keeping all user in mind, where this kinds of service, that is SDI, is organized based on specific user need. Current awareness service involves curriculum of current periodical list. However, SDI matches user profile with document profile. Emphasis of the current awareness service on user generally. However, the emphasis on saving users time in case of selective dissemination of information. So there is a difference between the current awareness service and SDI. The purpose of the current awareness service is to just aware about the aware users about the latest development. And the purpose of SDI is also the same, but it is meant for a specific community or highly selective users. So this is the major difference between the current awareness service and the selective dissemination of information. Now, just try to conclude this particular topic, that is selective dissemination of information. So SDI is basically an advanced form of current awareness service that we have discussed. And the focus of this service is on user specific information needs. How the focus is on specific user information needs, as because we need to create the profile of each user. So this service can be delivered on the basis of the user profile. Until we are not able to maintain the user profile, the SDI service cannot be offered. Number one. Number two, in the user profile, we need to identify the interest. And this interest can be recorded in the user profile. So we can say SDI is an advancement of current awareness service. Current awareness service can be delivered to every user. Okay, but this is not. In case of selective dissemination of information services, this is for a specific group of users, and for that a request is received to create a user profile. With online databases and networks, this selective dissemination of information service has become centralized, economical, and globally accessible. Now we can just imagine that Web of Science, Scopus, and many more databases having the features of this selective dissemination of information. Or even almost in all kinds of sector, this kinds of technology is used where the area of user interest can be identified. And sometimes, because we have the artificial intelligence today, once we have make a search on any of the database, then obviously the system collects some kinds of feedback on the basis of the interaction of the user with the system. Then the interest is recorded in the system and we started getting the results accordingly. So in this online environment or database technology environment, providing accurate SDI service is very easy. And better services can be offered to the users in the modern worldwide information environment. And this is the advantage of the technology, that libraries can customize specialized services, particularly the selective dissemination of information services to the users. We can see this SDI in almost all facets of our life and almost all kinds of sectors. Once we go to the shopping mall and after the purchasing of any item, they ask mobile number and they recorded the mobile number. And once we have given the mobile number, they will start sending the notification about new arrival, about new offers. Okay, and they collect more information. Then on the basis of more information like the date of birth and any other kinds of information, they can send special detail to a specific user. So we can see this current awareness service and selective dissemination of information services everywhere. So library can specifically use this modern technology and can develop a good selective dissemination of information services. So with this, now we are going to conclude it, and these are the references that can be consulted. These are the important documents, important books or important articles which can be consulted for more detail. For example, Documentation and Information Services by Goha, and another important book is The Elements of Information Organization and Dissemination. And there is some articles which are published in the journals, for example, Journal of Information Science, that is Selective Information, a Special Approach in the Third Millennium. So another important article which is very old and written by H.P. Lund, that is Selective Dissemination of New Scientific Information with the Aid of Electronic Processing, that was published in the American Documentation. So these original, traditional and modern sources can be consulted for further details. So with this, thank you very much.